Hello and welcome to today's episode of Oboe Windfree. Earlier in the week I had the opportunity to chat with Jörg Widmann, the principal conductor and artistic partner of the Irish Chamber Orchestra. Good morning, Jörg. How are you keeping in Berlin?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. How is it there for musicians at the moment?
Well, a little bit frustrating, to be honest, because, we could make music for several months and, the theaters and the concert halls provided really perfect concepts, to make it safe for people to attend a concert. And of course it was a reduced number of people only allowed in the concert places, but we were still allowed to play. And right now it's really zero, and it's a little bit frustrating. But of course, we try with several ensembles, we try to make recordings which you normally during the season could not do, and so on. And by the way, in Spain, I will go to Madrid in 1.5 weeks, and there, although they are hit even more by the pandemic, they have been playing concerts for, I think, up to 1,000 people in their Auditorio Nacional. So this shows if people want, it is possible. So anyway, so that's the situation.
Okay, so it's almost 10 years since your first project with the ICO, and I wondered how you've seen the orchestra change over that time.
I'm very sorry to say, I can only talk in terms of love about ICO, and it was so in the first moment, and it even grew over the years. But talking seriously about the quality of playing, I think really the orchestra has achieved so much. We've been working so hard, but at the same time, as you know, having so much fun and joy during rehearsals and concerts. And what has changed? We had such wonderful tours, as you might remember, to my Carnegie Hall residency in New York, then our South America tour through Europe, but also the concerts in Ireland. For me, it is always a feeling like coming home. But now, over a year, I did not have the opportunity to come home to my ICO, so I miss everybody and I can't wait until we make music again.
Now, during the years of working with the ICO, you focused on the music of Mendelssohn. So I'm interested to know, what was it that drew you personally to Mendelssohn, and how did you think this would work well with the ICO?
For me, I can say it very precisely. It was in my youth when I had a wonderful Argentinian clarinet teacher shortly after I started playing the clarinet, and he was fantastic. He was sitting at the piano accompanying me with Schumann fantasy pieces, which I maybe played a little bit too early, but also he introduced me to a piece by Mendelssohn, which is the Clarinet Sonata, which, by the way, is not known widely enough, even amongst clarinetists, I think, or at least one can say you don't find this piece enough on concert programs, as I think. And I immediately fell in love with the Andante, with the second movement. As you hear 3 notes, and it can be only Mendelssohn. This Andante, what he did in there, I fell immediately in love. It's such a unique word, this word of kind of Lieder ohne Worte, songs without words. That's exactly what this is. And then afterwards, I have to say, I learned and was allowed to dive into the cosmos of the Mendelssohn symphonies together with you, with ICO. We discovered together this incredible cosmos. First of all, talking about the string players, which is, of course, in Mendelssohn there are these early string symphonies which he wrote at the age of, when he was 12, 13, 14, which is incredible because his the sheer craftsmanship, of how he writes fugues, double fugues. I mean, who else could do it at that time? I would even provokingly say not even Mozart. For Mozart, counterpoint was difficult, it came later in his life, and of course he was such a master also in counterpoint. Think of the Jupiter Symphony, the end, where he has 5 themes happening at the same time. The fact that it doesn't sound like chaos, but like Mozart Jupiter Symphony, it's a pure miracle until today. But he didn't have this early ability to write, or not the easiness maybe. It was not easy for him, I feel, but for Mendelssohn it was. And then shortly after we worked on the symphonies, and which makes me very, very happy that we have the cycle of the Mendelssohn symphonies being published, also released on CD, and it will stay, I think, for us each time when we meet. It will stay something which also connects us, I think, and I think Irish Chamber Orchestra has, just a wonderful spirit for Mendelssohn in particular. In general, yes, but for Mendelssohn in particular.
So in 2016, the ICO and the Heidelberg Frühlinger Festival commissioned a piece from you. And the result, you've explained a little bit about how you fell in love with the Andante for piano and clarinet, but the result of the commission was a reimagining of the Andante for solo clarinet, strings and celeste. Now, my memory of perhaps even the first performance of this piece was of Igor Levit playing the celeste part with the ICO.
That's right. It could have been worse,
Absolutely.
And you remember, he played in the first half, he played what was it? Was it a Mozart
concerto
he did. With us, or Mendelssohn a piano concerto? And then in the second half, we played the Andante, and he was sitting at the celeste. It was unforgettable.
Absolutely, yeah. So can you tell me? Obviously, you said a bit about how you fell in love with the piece, but why did you reimagine this clarinet and piano work for clarinet and orchestra?
Well, to be very honest, almost around the time when I fell in love with the piece, which must have been, something when I was, hard to say, 10, 11 years old or so. That was also the time when I started composing. And pretty early, I had the feeling I want to make an instrumentation of it for orchestra. And later, this desire, I must say, became even stronger. So it was pure joy to do this, you might call it an arrangement of it, because what is, on the piano, arpeggios. It's not that easy to simply put that into an orchestra part. So, for example, when the orchestra comes in at the beginning, I do something which is actually probably only done to this extent, only in modern music, which is the individual groups play the pizzicati from the double basses up to the first violins, but each note which is played pizzicato is sustained in the other players in a kind of B-flat major cluster over the whole keyboard in the other string instruments. So things like that were important for me. Then also, it's very, very obvious, I think, when you hear even the first 3, 4, 5 notes of this piece, it's so Jewish, this music, And I must say, Mendelssohn was, I think, very discreet about himself being Jewish in his music. It's there always, and for some reasons, or in some pieces, he emphasizes it. In this early piece, it is so much there, but of course not with klezmer-like, intervals. So what I dared, and it was a tough decision to make, but I felt I have to do it. So very rarely, and hopefully subtly enough, I added some voices, for example, for the concertmaster together with me, but sometimes 5 octaves higher or 3 octaves higher in flageolets. To emphasize this aspect, but hopefully not too strongly. There's in the violas, there's a kind of very, very short moment, but it is there. So I really can only hope Mendelssohn would not mind, but he would rather see it's a declaration of love to his music. But of course, I did not want to do a simple arrangement. I did not want to say, okay, this is the piano part, so I do it in 4 parts. There's so many divisi. If you look at the score, vertically, it's a big score. And also the pizzicati, I added pizzicati, all kinds of that. And then, you know, the strongest or maybe the toughest change of what I did to the Mendelssohn is the recap. And hopefully he forgives me for it, because I thought in the orchestra version it's really too boring. If it simply comes back, I'm at the piano right now, so I can try to play 2 notes again. Very much out of tune. I have to tune my piano. I didn't know what to do that, but. And then comes original Mendelssohn, but in the celesta. That's the first thing that celesta plays, which is pure Mendelssohn. And so on, but during that I have chords like and so on. So for something like 20-30 seconds there is a sphere or an atmosphere of absolutely contemporary music. But the only remaining Mendelssohn thing is what the celesta plays. So these little things were important to me. But in general, it's a declaration of love to Mendelssohn and to this particular piece he wrote, which is so hard to imagine at the age of 15, you know.
Coming on to the I Create online film made by Dominik Koszycki, something that struck me was that the music is called Andante, and the character created by Simon Thompson in the film, he's walking around Limerick seeming to search for something. So I love the way this walking fits with the title of the piece, Andante, which obviously means at a walking pace. What do you feel when you hear something that you've written or something that you've composed after it's been matched with images? And how does Dominik and Simon's interpretation of the music fit with what you had in mind when you sat down to write it?
Well, first of all, what you say about the walkings and the correlation with the Andante is absolutely true. And also that it ends with the element of water. That I like particularly, because this movement has also something of a barcarolle, you know? So on the water, so this end of this short film, you know, when he lets this little boat, you know, a message in a bottle, a kind of message in a bottle, you know, with this message hope, he gives it to the water. I also like this very, very much. You know, in general, when I hear my music and it's used in a completely different context, to be very honest, my reactions are very different too, you know, because sometimes you feel it really fits perfectly, which I would say about this. I was simply very touched when I saw it, because I could feel very strongly somebody really listened very carefully to what we did with ICO, with this Mendelssohn piece, which by the way is already an interpretation, right? So this is already a translation process, right? So what they did is another translation process, and they are of course telling a story which we did not have in mind when we played it, and which Mendelssohn for sure did not have in mind when he played it, but the spirit is the one of Mendelssohn and the one in which we played this piece, and the message, the sheer message, which he does by simple motions, you know, by expression of his face, little things. I thought it was very subtle and very, very touching, in this message of hope in our time. You know, when we talk about it right now, it sounds like a cliche, but when you see this film and hear this music at the same time, a third element comes into it, which is more than only one element plus the other, and therefore I can only congratulate and thank them for what they did.
Jörg, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. It's so nice to hear you, and I can't wait
nice to hear you.
I can't wait to actually see you again.
Absolutely, same with me. And please give everybody my best greetings and love. As you know, we had several attempts to meet again, which was then impossible because new developments of the pandemic. But I'm sure we will meet very soon again. And by the way, as a message to everybody at ICO, I just listened to the third edit of our Beethoven 7 recording, and Cambrio and the Strauss Duet Concertino. I'm so, as you know, I'm always critical, self-critical. Sometimes when I hear first edits, especially of CDs I really think sometimes, was it really me? Why did I do this mistake in this horrible phrasing in bar 3? Really, I'm not kidding. But in this case, it's breathtaking, and we can all look forward to listen to it, and even more to meet finally again and make music.
Indeed.
I can't wait.
Thank you so much, Jörg. I'll hope to see you soon.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Matthew. Hope to see you soon. Bye bye.